Okay, my friends, this is Roger once again, Mudfossil University, giving Scott Wolter credit this morning for understanding that this is not a rock wall in Texas. Now, I work under the Fair Use Act, so I can show the History Channel stuff, and I do it as research, and I do it, let's show you what the Fair Use Act is. It says in U.S. copyright law, and this doesn't apply to everywhere in the world, the doctrine that I can use excerpts of copyright material under certain circumstances verbatim, exactly, show exactly what they present, because I am criticizing. I'm criticism, news reporting, teaching, and research. It's exactly what I do. And I don't need the permission from or payment to the copyright holder. So Scott Wolter, I do have some other issues with Scott, and we're gonna go through them. And everybody has their own opinion of what they see, but you know, Scott understood that this was a rock wall. However, if I was to take one of these rocks out of here, he understood it was not a rock wall, I'm sorry. But if I was to take one of these rocks and it said made in Ohio on the top of it and said this is a brick, well, and he said, no, I don't want to talk about it, then I would have an issue with him. And that is actually sort of what happened with Jim Burchell's Mudfossil head. And again, this is under the Fair Use Act. I'm not trying to really criticize anybody. I understood the situation at that time. Nobody understood. I was the first one to understand this, and I was the first one in the whole world to have ancient DNA from mud fossils extracted, and it was human, and some of them were giants, and that was the rub. It caused a lot of friction in the early days, and that friction is still kind of raw on me. Now let's I'm going to show you what Scott talked about on Jim Burchell's head, because again, this is nothing nasty. I just want things corrected. There's an error been made, in my opinion. And if he thinks it's not an error, then I'd like to see what he has to say. Why? Okay, this head here, Scott, this is when I first had my encounter with Scott Wolter. He claimed, and I'm going to show you right now, he claimed within, I think it's only like 20 seconds, maybe a minute, that was not real. And I will show you my evidence to support what I say. Like I say, everybody has their own opinion. But once you can validate what you're saying, it at least deserves a second look. Now here's the whole story. Jim Burchell, who I worked with, came in, he met Scott Wolter, he put the head down, opened up the case, he says, here's the head, and here's what transpired after that. Now this goes back 5 or 6 years ago, and he's just putting this up again on the January 10th of this year, 2021. That's only a week ago. And that's just not right to do this again, because in my opinion, and it's my opinion, because we didn't have that DNA tested, but we did have a CAT scan. Now, and it didn't show a whole lot in the CAT scan to really confront anybody with. And at that time, nobody had any DNA tests done yet. I was the first one, and I did it on my stuff. This can easily be tested now, so there is no question whatsoever that I can support my statements. And you will see that my statements are quite valid, because I have much better pictures of this head. He was holding it in his hand, but watch.
It weighs 22 pounds. Wow.
Pretty good sized head.
Now, at this time, Jim was talking about giants. Now, I have the giants. He did not. The nose is fractured, and the cartilage is there. The eyeballs are there. Its blood is red and black, and I will show you that in the mud fossils. Again, I understand at this time, nobody knew this. And I was really the first one to discover it. And then I decided I'm not going to walk away from this stuff. And things did not turn out well. But this guy here, somebody slammed his head, and that's what's called bone black. We're going to go through this. Here it goes. And again, I have to take time to show the evidence and then show my supporting evidence. So none of this is outside the Fair Use Act.
So, what's your interpretation of this?
Well, my interpretation.
Now, so you saw that there was maybe, 10 seconds of looking at it, and now he's looking at Jim and asking him what he's thinking.
This is probably a giant, maybe a young giant. If you look at it, this head's been decapitated, And you can see the cross section of the skin here. It comes down to the Adam's apple.
It was actually decapitated
Actually,
from a real
a
human.
real human being. I think there was a human head deposited in this shallow marsh a long, long time ago, probably cold conditions. And it was in a mineral-rich, oxygen-free environment. And if it was 10, 15, maybe 40,000 years ago, who knows?
So you think this was an actual human head that has basically fossilized into stone?
That's what I believe.
To be honest with you, I'm going to respectfully disagree with your interpretation. This, to me, without any doubt, is a sandstone head. It was carved. This feature here is actually some iron staining. Do you think it's possible that this could be symbolic of a giant's head? When I was at the Geological...
All right, there's no sense going any further because he just dismissed it, and Jim, being the really humble, nice guy that he was, didn't fight against it. I mean, I don't know, I have a hard time sitting there saying, wait a minute, whoa, 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 buddy, let's look at this a little closer. Because, well, I'll show you why. Jim Jim understood the mud fossil process, and Scott does not. That's the problem. Scott maybe read a lot of books about geology, but the books he read weren't right. In my estimation, again, this is no major criticism against Scott in particular, but I believe it's time to reconsider these statements. And now putting this out again last week, this is just not right, because he is demeaning my research. I researched that very well. Let me show you. Okay, this is Jim's head, and I looked at this quite well. Now, that is, the red is arterial blood, the black is vein blood, and this is what's called bone black. When you fracture a bone, they turn black. It's from the marrow. Now, this is the nose, where the flesh has splayed across. I don't think anybody would carve that. This is the actual cartilage that is under the nose, the movable part to grab your nose and switch back and forth. That's the part right there underneath, and the flesh covers it, and then that bone starts up about there somewhere. The eyes are, this shot doesn't show the eyes all that well. But they're there. They're no question they're there. This can easily be tested now for DNA. I was the first one. At this point in time, I believe this was just as I was having my DNA test being done. And I had 3 tests done, and they all came back human mitochondrial DNA. And here is one of them, which is a lung that could have been in that guy, literally. It's about the size of the correct size of a lung. And this is the fabric. It's called fascia. On a lung, it's called pleura. On a bone, hold on, I got a bone around here somewhere. This is the same stuff right there as that guy's got. Well, similar. This is skin, but it's the same fabric. If you looked at the microscope, it looks like sandstone. Yes, I agree, Scott. It looked like sandstone. However, it is flesh that has what they call nucleophilic substitution. It's been, just as Jim said, it was in a mineral-rich, aqueous, cold, oxygen-free environment. And it got invaded. Look it up. Nucleophilic invasion, nucleophilic substitution. It's molecules. When you die, well, let's go back to when you're alive. When you're alive, every single molecule in you is unstable. Did you know that? If you have any stable molecules in you, you're going to die. I mean, there's going to be some that are stable, but very, very few. They are transpiring all the time. They're giving up oxygen, taking in nutrients. And those are the molecules. Now, when you die, all of those transition metals and things like this here, and the silicon, all that stuff, it wants to be stable. So it finds something moving through the water, these minerals, and it says, "Oh, come on over here," and we'll turn into silicon, SiO2, silicon dioxide. Boom, done, and that's sand. And the blood, which is Fe2O2 and Fe2O3, will oxidize, and you have magnetite and hematite. So these are the things I am presenting against Scott's deep analysis. All right, this is just about black bone syndrome, just something it's fully understood. It's the marrow leaks into the tissue. And this is about science and poultry, but here's a mud fossil bone, and this is literally all that's left of the bone right there. That's it. That's what's left of the bone. This is the bone black, the marrow. Now, I am going to pick this up. It's in my microscope right here. I might actually be able to get a little better. It's not too bad. Now, if you see the edge here, I don't know if you remember Jim Burchell talking about the edge of the skin. That's it right there. That's basically an edge like he was showing. Now, if you came around that edge, there's the bone, and that is what they call feldspar. You see that? I have a little moisture on here to make it easier to see. That's what they call feldspar. Let me home in on it. You see it? Ask Scott Wolter what that is. He'll say it's feldspar. And that's what they say. That's what a geologist would say. It's not feldspar, it's fabric of skin. Well, actually, in this case, it's the periosteum, which is the coating of a bone. Now, this right here is where you have the ligament emplacements between the bones. Up at the top here is where your cartilage little flares are. And then you have a couple of these holes up at the top. I guess those are the blood vessels, I think, that connect one to the other. See the two little holes? But it's all the same fabric. Now, and this is the bone right here. Hold on, let me show it to you. That is the bone that I was just showing you. All right, and that is there's the bone. That's what's left. And this is what happens. It's called nucleophilic substitution. The molecules that were in here when you were alive are continuously changing their states. They're adding minerals, they're adding oxygen, they're adding electrons, and then when you die, they have to become stable or rot away and just turn into mud. And both things happen. But in saltwater floods, and primarily this is what I'm talking about, these things would be preserved, and then when they dried out, they become rock. In certain cases, I have them in every single state of decay, every single different state of decay. I have lungs that are completely down to the alveoli. I have some that have part of the pleura and right down to the alveoli. I have them that are 100% pleura. And that one there is absolutely like it came out of a box. It looks like you could transplant it. Now, let me show you what happens to blood in the mud fossil conditions. All right, let me just show you something. This right here is a lung. That's a lung, and that's the blood that's in the lung. These are all the little alveoli holes for respiration. Now, a friend of mine, Gary Evans, over in England, and he's out in a mud flat, and he's walking around. He sees this rock, and he sees what he considers could be a lung. So, of course, he takes it home and looks at it, and here's what he finds. Now, here's what he finds. There it is. You could almost transplant this damn thing. You see the black I told you before, bone black, expended blood turns black in mud fossils. The red blood still stays pretty red. I mean, it changes colors here and there. Now, this was a lung. He broke it open. There it is. No question. And this is also a lung. Now, this is also a lung right here. Only this one's just like perfect. This is like brand new. It's absolutely flawless, and anybody that is an anatomist can tell you, absolutely no question, that's a lung. Now, the second thing is, well, it's DNA tested and CAT scan too, and anatomist verified, and that is pleura. It's like a very, very, very rubbery bag that coats your lungs because they have to go all day long. Now, all your other parts of your body are coated by fascia. I worked with Gil Hedley, the top anatomist in the world, literally, and about fascia, and that was 10 years ago almost. Well, yeah, 10 years, well, close to 10 years ago, and he and I together discovered interstitium, which is the layer of skin just below the layer of skin. There's stuff, you push your skin around, you can gush it this way and gush it that way, and they let go, it goes back where it's supposed to. The reason is because of interstitium, and they never knew this before. I'm not kidding you. Medical people and scientists had never known about this until I discovered it. And I contacted Gil Hedley, and I said, Gil, what is this stuff? And he said, well, it's fascia. And then we started going through it, and then I started posting about it. Next thing I hear, a couple of years ago, I say, yeah, brand new organ system. Watch. All right, this is Live Science. This is a credible publication. Meet Your Interstitium, a newfound organ. And it's right below the skin layer. It's all these little balls and straps, and you can gush your skin around and it'll all float around and come back. Now, they say you wouldn't expect doctors to discover a new body part in this day and age, but now researchers say that's exactly what they just did. They found a new network of fluid-filled spaces that hadn't ever been seen before. And the reason is they always get them in an autopsy condition where they're flat. This is the interstitium, and it is on this earth absolutely phenomenally large. You see this right here? That is the skin. Well, hold on a second. I'm going to show you a better shot. All right, I'm saying the Earth is made of giants. Giant creatures. That's my statement. This is skin. Below the skin is the fluid-filled bags, the interstitium balls, which are the very, very... Scott Wolter calls these concretions. They're not concretions. These are interstitium balls. And there's collagen fibers and these bundles. And if this was a skin and a body creature, and water washed up against there in the ocean, what would you see? You would see the layer of skin, then you would see the interstitium, which is really fleshy red flesh, and you would see a bunch of these balls laying on the flat plate below, which had eroded down as it ate away flat against this. Let's see if we can find that somewhere. And you know where we can find it? We can find it right here in Hunstanton Beach, Norfolk, United Kingdom. That's the skin. That is the flesh that we saw before. All of these balls are in here. All of these are the interstitium balls. And they're all collecting now down below. They're eroding away. See them? They're everywhere. The skin is laying down here. That skin will turn into mud and flow out. These are not concretions, Scott. These are interstitium balls. And I'll show you a little more, just to make my point a little more obvious. Okay, these are Moki marbles. These are not concretions. They are interstitium balls. That's my statement. And this mud is the runoff of the flesh. And the fluid-filled bags go away. The balls, which are very strong, stay. And this was a gigantic creature. This is the basement layer of skin. That's my claim. I'd love to have a debate with someone that wants to really engage in reality. It's nice to be able to just keep walking around in circles and talking. Now, and believe me, now, I'm a little kind of upset, to be perfectly honest with you, that Scott is putting out that video again after 6 years of denying what I consider to be undeniable evidence, and then putting out it again and getting, hundreds of thousands of hits. People are being misguided. That's my claim. I think so. If he can show evidence that my evidence is wrong, I'd love to see it, because I have so much evidence now. It's just overwhelming. Okay, this was a video I did a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago, about the pyramids being built on what I consider to be giants. Now, and then I show, this is Babylon, which was actually Cairo. Ancient Babylon was called Cairo. People don't understand a lot of things until they start studying. They need to really get back. And then I'm showing what's inside the pyramid. I think I understand the pyramids now. I understand the construction. I understand why they even had them there. I understand how they made all of these things. I understand the chemistry. These are my mud fossils right here. You see, there's a couple of lungs right there. You see, that one still has the alveoli sticking out. Blood gushed out of there. That's the blood that actually came out of this one when it came out of the ground. That's when I showed you his DNA tested. Now I have giants here, and I have them coming out of my ears. And here they are. There's the DNA test. These are the primer they used. And they found excellent quality DNA, because I took it right out of the arteries. I didn't take it just swab something. Anyway, I was the first one in the world to have this done, and they had to do PCR. There was some special primers they used, and they searched for these particular sequences in the this is the mitochondrial cytochrome B gene and D loop region. That's the two sequences they look for with these primers, and they found them in quantity, in very, very good quantity. And I went through this whole test, and they did 3 different tests now, or 3 different specimens. And this was another one. This is a gigantic fingertip. It's 3 feet long from here to here. That's the fingernail. That is the bone in the back that bumps up against. This is the thumb, I believe we figured out was a thumb. I smashed this off here to get down into the blood. When I did, I thought it would just crack open, but it didn't. It peeled off this grip skin, it's called, right around the fingernail. And it peeled it right off, just like the skin on your own hand. And here's what it looks like. Whoops, I gotta do it, hold on. Like I said, it broke off. This is the grip skin. That's the skin, the layer of skin that came right off of there. Now, this was right here, just like this. That's where the fingernail was. And then the fingerprints start almost immediately. And those are the fingerprints, just like you have on your hand. It's called grip skin. It's a thick layer of skin that coats your fingers, your toes, your feet. And here it is right there. And that was on that big fingertip. That's a 3-foot-long fingertip. I have so much to discuss, but I need somebody to discuss it with. I have no microphone. I only a couple thousand people that follow my stuff. I have 99,000 people subscribe, but only a couple thousand ever show up. And I've really been put outside the mainstream on purpose. It seems like to me. And not having anybody step forward after they've made comments that are just appear not to be correct. And I think that's the case, Scott. I'd love to discuss it with you. And I think as a scientist, you're obligated to, I think I've shown enough evidence to support what I had to say. And again, I am not trying to demean you or anything. I know you made your best guess because you were literally indoctrinated into believing it would be impossible. I understand that. But now the things have changed. I've changed that 100%. I'm going to take credit for it because I have. I didn't stand down. I didn't run away. I continued because I knew it was right, and it is right, and I'm certainly never going to run away. Now, if you don't engage, that does not look good for you, my friend. It really doesn't. I think you should reconsider. And especially after putting that same video up again just last week, which really literally demeans me, and actually slanders me because it has made me look like a fool to all of your hundreds of thousands of people. So they turn away from me saying, "Oh, Scott's got to be the authority here," and you won't address your errors or at least reconsider them. That's all I'm asking for, my friend. By the way, I also have this. This is a fingertip from this hand, which the hand itself is 3 feet wide. The other one, the fingertip, is 3 feet wide. Now, this was the DNA certified CAT scan, again, up inside to take out the blood. And it was, I harvested the DNA. I was the one that extracted it. If it's wrong, it's wrong, but you have to prove it's wrong. I sent it off to the lab, certified lab. They had it checked, and then they did a blast from every living creature that there ever was, and it came out 100%, 100% human mitochondrial DNA. He said there was absolutely no difference whatsoever to the mitochondrial DNA from this and from that 36-inch fingertip and from the lung. They all came back with mitochondrial human DNA. That's what I got back. Now, I sent the stuff off. If somebody wants to say, Roger, you can't have done right, you must have made a big mistake, well, you check it out. You want to check it out? Check it out. But that's the grip skin on this hand. This is the hand. This is the same as your hand. Put your hand out like that. That's the bump, the puffy part of your hand, whatever you want to call it. There's the tendon that runs down. Just you have the same one. That's where your thumb runs off. It's what it is. And it's been CAT scanned. I have the thumbs, I mean the fingers, I have knuckles, I have actually other parts from this that were like 70 feet down the other end, the toes and stuff. So I have all kinds of stuff. And it's right there laying in my backyard. All this stuff, it's under the ground. Because this came up when they dug a little, not deep, only I think about 4 feet deep. For my wife's, another little room we built. Anyway, I keep her in there. no, she needed a little, she needed a little office, so we built that, and it came out of there. Right, so she's living on top of a dead guy, I guess. By the way, I have new species too. We call them no-toes. I'm telling you, this is just unbelievable. This particular area I live in, and this was a hominid type species. You see that? That's where the tibia would have come down, the big bone. The fibia, the other bone, lays on the side, and it fell right off. That's what happens. And they all do the same thing. I have a lot of these. I mean, not just one or two. I got tons of them. And that's where the blood runs in the front. And this is where the blood runs off the side here. You see that? That's where the bone would have come down. It's got the same structure as our feet, only the toes are built inside. This is not a shoe. This is the structure of these feet. They have the toes internal. This was prior to us, because these don't have ligaments and bones inside the feet, all of them. This one might. I don't know. I haven't cut this one apart. But we have other ones that a friend has that have springs inside the feet. They don't have. Well, let me show you one quick shot, and then I'll leave it at that. All right, this is my no-toes, and I have other styles here, but they're all basically like this. Now, Tish Egerton found this, and I believe hers are the same as this, and hers is eroded away. It has the little place where the fibia falls off. Now, here's a normal human foot. All right, this is what a normal human foot looks like. That's the calcaneal, the heel bone, and then there's a strap that runs up here. You see it? A tendon. It runs up to the ear. Now, what does this look like to you? That's the bone right there, which is there. That's the strap. This is facing that way. This is facing. The strap runs up this way. The strap runs up way. This is the saddle, where the bone sits down from up above. However, this is nothing at all like this. And I have done an extreme amount of detailed analysis of this. This is a double loaded spring. The front toes are missing, but this would have come up, this would have twisted and locked this way, would have loaded this up, pulled this in with this gap, so you spring back down. It's a and there's also things in here you can't see, but I've seen them that are little latches and cables. This was built. These were constructed, literally constructed, prior to us. Is all I can say. That's my opinion at this point, and it's just my opinion. Maybe Scott has a different opinion. I'd like to hear it. Okay, once again, I'm a fair use guy, and I use everybody else's research to try to understand the meaning of everything. Now, I've been doing a very deep, detailed analysis of the ancient stones. I understand what they are. I understand what these bumps are. I understand why they fit so well together. I understand how they harvested these and how they put them together. I understand what they were before they were what they are now. I understand why. Well, let me just show you something what I do understand. I'm not bragging about this. I'm just saying I put this together and nobody will listen. That's why I'm sort of pushing that on people. Now, these are the natural building stones of Mexico. Tenochtitlan. I can't pronounce that. Tenochtitlan. Their use, weathering, and rock properties at these different places. Now, the Aztec period and in colonial times, they used different natural stones. And I know why that too, because the body parts dried out in different cycles. I've also gone deep into the history and examined all the ancient texts, well, as many as as many as I'm able to. And they had ancient equipment here that they left with. They got pissed off because humanity was such a disaster, and they left. Okay, I understand exactly what this material was. I understand exactly what they did with these pieces that they removed from there. This is, anybody that understands equipment knows that these are specifically designed for traction and for moving and driving. So you could drive on dry land. These would be up above. In this wet stuff, it just sinks down until the grabbers hook in. And then it's like tank treads at that point. But you could drive anywhere you want because the wheels are below. It's very cool. But this goes back to probably about 3,500 years ago. Now, I don't think they were supposed to be having those. And I believe they used those to excavate these slabs of wet flesh. I'd love to have some discussion on this because it really literally changes every single thing that's being said. You know, literally not a word now that's being said until they take this into consideration is correct. I'm sorry. I'd love to have some discussion. Somebody step up. I got so much research on this, it's embarrassing. All right, I love you. God bless you.